Okay, next item is the reassessment update by the assessor. Mr. Johnson's going to be late this evening, and we thought he probably could be here 7:30 or not in that time frame because he had another commitment tonight. And we did ask him to come and explain. In fact, here he comes.
Man.
Bill, come on down front.
What timing?
You got the prize.
Mr. Mayor, since I asked for this
Sure.
agenda item, if I may, Bill, thanks for being here so timely. I did ask for this item to be put on the agenda because the letters have gone out to all of our citizens with regard to the reassessment that we've done this year. And I'm hoping maybe, Bill, you can just give some background as to, again, why we did the reassessment, and then also kind of explain what people may or may not be seeing. The biggest question that I've been getting from friends, neighbors, has been, my assessment went down, but my taxes went up. What the heck's going on? And I, of course, tout the great work that we've done as a municipality in not raising taxes, and that the county and schools, have been contributing there, but also trying to explain the assessment process and how the calculation is affected. So I thought it would be good to kind of get that on the record for people to understand in more layman's terms that they might not get out of the letter.
I'll do my best to explain.
Great.
Bill, and
Thanks,
the other
Bill.
thing I thought of, even though this is not a public session, what I would like, though, and I would permit it as long as committee agrees, generic questions, not individual letters. If you have a question about it that you felt he didn't cover, we'll entertain it tonight.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
A little bit of background. The reason that we did the reassessment, we did the reevaluation actually 2010. It went on the books in 2011. So we were kind of at the peak of the declining market, just going over the hump and going down. We continue to do some compliance plans. Some of our developments, particularly condominium developments, some of our single-family home developments, continue to see drastic declines. So we did compliance plans that the committee approved. We were able to adjust those assessments due to a number of appeals and also market value. The governing body, based on my suggestion, agreed to do a reassessment of the entire town rather than just kind of put out fires, if you will, by way of compliance plans.
And that was tax appeal fires, right? Like lots of tax appeals coming in from certain areas.
I'll use one example, Woodlands condominium development. Height of the market just prior to putting values on for the revaluation. Some of the 3-bedroom townhouse units in there were selling in the $160,000 to $170,000. Shortly thereafter, those same units were selling for $30,000 to $40,000.
Lisa, can you hear him? No. Would you speak into the mic then?
Closer to the mic.
Sure.
I think you tilt it maybe more.
Okay.
Man, we're really putting you on the test tonight, Bill.
They didn't even give me a chance to get my jacket
I
off.
know. That's what Judy just said.
But you look comfortable.
You do
so
look comfortable.
relax.
Okay.
A quick exit. You can make a quick exit.
Promise?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Did everybody hear up to the point of the Woodlands, or? Okay.
Yep.
So that was just one example why we were doing the compliance plans and making those reductions. And we were getting not a large amount of appeals, but we were getting enough appeals to cause alarm. And in order to basically lessen our burden in the following year by getting mass appeals, we would do the compliance plans and reduce those values ahead of time.
And that helps the township from a budgeting perspective because
It helps the
it's
township.
not unanticipated at this point.
Right. Once we set that book, we have to pay the county, we have to pay the schools. Even
Right.
if there's a tax appeal filed, we the township eat 100% of that tax refund.
Correct.
The county does give a credit back by way of equalization in the following year, but the schools, which is the biggest part of the tax burden, the municipality eats that 100%.
Right.
Excuse me, is that a full credit? It's not a full credit, is it? From the county?
Yes, it is.
It is a full credit.
Yeah, it's a full credit by way of equalization. So what they do is say we owe $2 million and we had $200,000 in tax appeals, county taxes in tax appeals the year before, they take the $200,000 off of that $2 million burden, and then they
Right.
equalize the value based on
Okay,
that.
very good.
That was how we ended up getting to the reassessment. Putting out those fires, we decided, I thought it would be best to do the entire town. I guess it was about a year or so ago, I came before the governing body, did a brief presentation, the governing body approved it, which is what put the reassessment in place. One of the things, the letter is just a bit confusing because it is an impact letter.
Right.
I thought it very important. If you read some of the press articles, the most recent town and closest would have been Galloway Township. Last year, they did a reassessment very similar to what we just completed. They didn't include what the tax implications would be of that reassessment. Very few people bothered to question the reassessment, their new value until they got their tax bill, which basically I've never seen any community actually go in mass to school board meetings. It's the first time I've ever seen that.
Maybe we should have done that.
So
Good point.
I chose to do an impact letter. Now, in the impact letter, it's going to tell you what your 2014 assessment was, which is going to be the top line, your 2014 annual taxes, what your 2014 tax bill was.
Actually was.
On the third line, it's going to tell you what your new assessed value is. Now, here's where it gets confusing for people. We don't know what the 2015 budget is going to be. So what we're doing is we're taking the 2014 budget and applying your new assessed value. Now, that will come up, that will actually create a new tax rate.
Right.
Okay? So what we're saying is if your new assessment was in place for 2014, based on the 2014 budget, your taxes would have been X.
Right.
Right. And I do emphasize, stress that that is just an estimate.
So can you explain, because
How can-
I think what people don't understand is, so my assessment changes, my tax bill change, why? And what I try to explain is the assessed value of our rateable base overall went down.
Correct.
The amount that we're collecting in taxation is the same. It's just going to get chopped up differently now based on the new tax rate. So it becomes a new multiplier.
Correct.
How do we get to the new multiplier?
Okay.
And also, what impact will Atlantic City and the county have on that?
I
Can't answer that
wish I knew.
To that
I
now.
wish I knew.
That's in
If
addition
I
to
knew that,
this.
I wouldn't be standing here. I'd be a millionaire retired someplace. Not to make fun of it, but
No, I understand.
We just
That's
we
an
don't know
unknown,
at
though.
this point, and we're not going to know until the 2015 budgeting process is completed.
Or until we see the book of ratables for the entire county and see what percentages are assigned, and then we're going to have an idea by January 15th or 20th if everybody files by January 10th as they're supposed to.
Files their books correct.
Files their books with the county by January 10th, and we see everybody's ratables increase or decrease, and the assignment of the percentages across the board from all 23 municipalities, we're going to have an idea of what kind of a shift is happening.
Right. What's
You
gonna
agree?
Actually,
Did you agree with that?
That's part of it. Yes. But
Agree,
the
it's
biggest-
part of it.
It's part of it, but the biggest factor in that's going to be what are the tax court appeal judgments that were rendered during
That's a great
the
point.
year when they get applied through equalization.
Yes.
Okay.
That's going to be a big factor. That's actually going to be the biggest factor.
But those numbers are known now, aren't they? The tax court has already decided. Or they will continue to decide till December 31st.
Yes, they will, but I don't have access to what Atlantic City's tax.
No,
court-
understood.
Yeah,
I understand
yes,
that. But the
don't have
tax
those-
court can continue making decisions up to December 31st that will affect the rateable base for Atlantic City for January 10th and the impact of these stipulations that, or what was the word you used? It wasn't stipulation.
Judgments?
Judgments.
Yes. Yeah, so we won't know that for some time to come.
And people should should understand also that, as you mentioned, we don't know what our 2015 budget is. Hopefully, there won't be much of a change, but that would have an impact on the final rate also. So if someone looks at that later on and sees there's a slight difference, that's the reason why.
Right, right. And Hamilton Township's been very good in the last 3 to 4 years. I think
Yes.
I think we've reduced our budget every year.
Yes.
Have.
Yes.
So can you come back home and talk about how a lower assessment affects a new tax rate?
If your assessment was reduced and we didn't do a reassessment, no values were changed in the town other than your value, yes, your assessment went down, you would see a tax decrease. In a reassessment, what you have to bear in mind is it's revenue neutral. We're not creating new revenue by doing a reassessment. What does happen is, in this instance, most values in the town declined. So the value of the town goes down. When the value of the town goes down, it's almost like a slide scale. The tax rate will go up to collect the same amount of money.
Correct.
So just using the simplest math I can think of that everybody can kind of follow along. If you had a $4 million rateable base in a town and a tax rate of $2 and the average assessed value of a home was $175,000, that would be a $3,000 tax bill based on that information. Now, just say property values decline severely and you do a reassessment for the following year and you reduce them by 50%. Again, trying to keep the math as simple as possible.
So the 4 million goes to 2 million?
4 million goes to 2 million.
Okay.
The average assessed home goes to 75,000. The tax rate would go up to $4. Now that's factoring the budget remaining exactly the same from the year before. You would still pay the same amount in taxes.
Right. The township as a whole will pay the same amount of taxes, but me individually, my slice might change.
Your slice might change.
Right.
But again, under this scenario, your tax burden would remain exactly the same if everybody was uniformly adjusted.
Exactly. Right. Okay.
I did hear that Atlantic City voted to do a revow. I think their
They
expenditures
just
close to $1
appropriated
million.
the funds, but they haven't awarded
900
a
and some odd
contract. as
thousand,
of
right.
yet, yes.
Bill, the way I looked at it is I have sat here for 3 years and watched the ratables continue to slide downward, and using whole numbers, not partial numbers. In 2012, each penny of the tax rate raised $238,000. A year later, it dropped $2,500. In 2013, it was $236,000. This past year, after the compliance plan, we were at $227,000. And I asked, what's the per penny? I got it from the finance office. What's per penny proposed for 2015 based on the numbers as we know them, which are not final, the decrease of 178 million plus or minus. In the rateable base, we're looking at under $210,000 per penny. So it's about a $16,000, $17,000 decrease per penny is the money we've lost because of the declined values. So I don't know what that translates into, how many pennies increase on the tax rate that we'll have to hit in order to hold the same level of budget dollars.
Right.
That's a pending issue, and what can be done about it. In time will tell, because we have to wait to get past January 10th and see the rateable sharing there.
Right, right. And, you know, the hope is that, you know, the values will be good and hold true for a couple of years, that as we do added assessments for property.
We have to build
that-
something first.
Well,
and there's
we-
nothing
we
hap-
still do- We still do have residential, we still do have additions and stuff like that being.
But it's insignificant. Compared to the tax appeals, it's insignificant.
Well, if it offsets the tax appeals, which.
That's
we
an
haven't
even.
had that. It's offset and then some the last several years. And if we hadn't done the compliance plans, we'd be bonding for tax refunds. So we've been very fortunate. We
Just like Galloway.
Hamilton Township is one of the few municipalities in Atlantic County, especially the larger municipalities, that
With a reserve?
we've had a reserve. Most of the stuff has been taken care of by way of the compliance plans.
And
We
that's
haven't-
thanks to your leadership,
Yeah,
Bill, so,
we haven't had to go out and bond for tax refunds.
right.
Bill, back in the 90s and from 2001 to 2010, am I remembering we were having like 40 to 50 million a year in added assessments during that period of time?
Right up until about 2009, yes, we were averaging
Yeah.
anywhere from 40 to 50 million dollars a year. Yes,
So, and for the benefit of the folks out here, added assessments means new structures being built on lands to create new assessments.
that's correct.
So from 2009 to now, what has happened in terms of added assessments?
Added assessments have declined.
Didn't we have 13,000 last year? Wasn't that the number for 2014?
I believe-
13?
I believe it was about 13 million.
$13 million, and that was wiped out with tax appeals,
That was- that
and
was-
plus more.
Correct, yes. You're absolutely.
Thank you.
absolutely right. But most of the values now going forward, hopefully the market will start to settle just a bit. We didn't hit 100%.
In the reassessment, we're still not at 100%?
I anticipated a continuing decline in the market. We actually hit about 95%.
90 what, Bill?
95.
95? Interesting.
And so the,
You have to take into consideration what's going on in Atlantic City,
No
the
question.
unemployment rate, the foreclosures, that all has to be taken into consideration.
Had an impact. It's yet to come, the impact.
No question, I agree with you 100%.
Yes.
100%.
Now-
The worst is coming at us.
Is there anybody in the audience that has a question to ask of Mr. Johnson? Please keep in mind that if you do have any, Bill, they have been calling you
I have a question,
people,
Roger.
right? Go ahead.
I'm not sure the folks out there understand what a compliance plan is, but am I generally correct when I say that because you did these compliance plans, you equalized values to market values to avoid subsequent tax appeals? Is that a correct statement?
Yes, it is, yes.
And in so doing, A, you were being fair to the people, because that's your job. But B, we have budgeted such that we still have a reserve where most of the towns in Atlantic County don't. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So through our initiative, despite dramatic decreases in added assessments, despite rampant increases in foreclosures, we've still remained stable. We're at 95%.
Yes,
Is that right?
yes.
It's remarkable.
It is.
We've been proactive over the last 4 to 5 years in the process. The assessments should never really remain stagnant, just like the real estate market. I mean, the real estate market doesn't remain what it is last year, this year. It's constantly changing. The
Right.
assessment should change as well. In fact, that is something that will be coming. The assessors are going to be doing that. That's something that's in the pipeline, and that will be forthcoming.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes, Bob Campbell, Hamilton Township. Bill,
He has to go on the mic.
in the event that a taxpayer within the community or a homeowner in the community gets his new evaluation as
assessment.
prescribed, and they're not happy with that particular assessment that you've given, even though most of them have been lowered, we still have the opportunity to appeal those assessments.
Yeah, anybody who is not happy with their assessment, disagrees with it, you can still call professional property appraisers. The reason that the letter states the 12th, it's to spur you to act now, not wait till January, not wait till February. We want you to act now. Call, make an appointment, somebody will sit down. They are still manning the phones, even though it is after December 12th. If anybody wishes to call, they will gladly accept your call. They will schedule an appointment for you. As far as your right to appeal, if you meet with somebody and you're still not happy with the outcome of that, this year, 2015, you do have a right to appeal. The deadline is extended for this year and this year only, the 2015 year, because of the reassessment. It will be extended to May 1st.
It is normal, the end of October is the end of the year for appeal.
October 1.
When you make an appeal, you have to use the year past for your, okay, you know what I mean? So, but if you received your new assessment after that date, you're telling me now that that's extended?
The value is for 2015, okay? So that's notice of what your new assessment's going to be. You'll still get the green postcard that'll go out on February 1st. Because we're doing a reassessment that's going on the books for 2015, the April 1st deadline is extended to May 1st, this year and this year only. The October date would be the date, the valuation date. You're going to use sales from October 1, 2013 up to October 1, 2014 for setting assessments in 2015.
Okay, so the last question I have then is, normally if you were appealing your assessment, you would usually use the deadline of the end of October for that year's assessment.
No. The deadline meaning the sales?
Yes.
Well, the sales you would use from the same date range, October 1, 2013 to October 1, 2014 would be the date range that you would look for sales to use in an appeal.
Okay, so the last question is, now, if you've gotten a new assessment and you're unhappy with the new assessment, you will have until May to appeal them if you wish to, but in the meantime, you're having hearings here with the company that did the reevaluation.
That is correct. You do have the opportunity to call, make an appointment with professional property appraisers to sit down, and they call it informally discuss your assessment. If you're unhappy with that, February 1st, you will get your notice of property assessment. It's a little green postcard that you get every year. Most people think it's for filing of income tax, but it's not to be used for income tax. You would then have until May 1st to file a formal appeal with the county tax board.
And Bill,
The reason why I'm asking these questions is because there's a lot of people that ask me, they were confused, and very frankly, I was a little confused too, exactly what the procedure was. I can understand it, but the appeal process is still available to anybody in the community, and that they can come in and talk to you at any time, and try to get as many people in to talk about it now, so that we're not flooded with appeals coming up this year.
That's why we have the informal review process, and that's why.
You're welcome. And Bob, you also have the rerun of the meetings too to correct those dates in your mind. When you watch the rerun of the meetings, you'll have the dates corrected in your mind. Bill, go ahead.
Yes. We do have some of them that were returned by the post office for one reason or another. If you give my office a call with your block and lot number, we can look and see if it was one of the ones that was returned. But they were mailed on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
They were mailed to owners of record of the property.
Yes, they were mailed to the record owner of the property, yes.
Bill, thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate your candid remarks. And
No problem.
I know if anybody has any questions, Bill's always available.
Yeah, if anybody does have any questions or anything like that, you can always call the tax assessor's office, 625-1671. If we're not able to answer your question, then we'll gladly make an appointment with you. You come in, sit down, we'll go over everything with you personally.
Okay?
Mike, maybe we could even ask Steve to put this piece of explanation on the website video for people to easily click and see if they have questions if they're visiting the website.
Good.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it.
it.
And thank you, Amy, for putting on the agenda.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay.